Lionel Rome, and this is IBA News coming to you from Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened his forum of 7 top decision-makers today to discuss the launch of proximity talks between Israel and the Palestinians. This as Interior Minister Eli Yishai, a member of that forum, sent a defiant message to Washington. Yishai was the minister responsible for the approval of the Ramat Shlomo building project during the visit here of U.S. Vice President Joe Biden, a move that sparked a major crisis between Washington and Jerusalem. In an interview appearing in the Shas Party newspaper today, Yishai said the government will not capitulate before the Americans and that Israel will build everywhere in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people. He said that he will soon convene the Jerusalem District Planning Committee, but not while U.S. officials are visiting Israel. Defense Minister Ehud Barak is not happy with Eli Yishai's interview. The defense chief lashed out at those ministers who say that Israel will continue building in Arab neighborhoods of eastern Jerusalem. Barak said these comments harm Israel's interest, both with regard to the United States and the international community. These remarks make Israel look like it refuses to make peace, and it erodes Israel's international reputation. And Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman was quoted by Arutz as saying that no agreement exists to freeze construction in eastern Jerusalem and that the United States has not dictated anything to Israel. He called the issue a misunderstanding. Lieberman also said that Israel's many gestures to the Palestinians have been reciprocated by, quote, slaps in the face. And Deputy Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon also weighed in on the subject of the building moratorium. IBA's Efrat Batat asked Ayalon this morning whether there was any agreement on a building freeze in Jerusalem.
Not do it, not morally, not politically, and certainly not legally. You cannot stop building in Jerusalem for Arabs, for example. So certainly you cannot single out Jews for that. However, having said that, we will work in a very judicious way in order not to disrupt what we all are trying to do, and certainly there is a happy medium which we can find. It's not a zero-sum game, and we will continue to do what we must do, and we will continue to make sure that the process and the talks will advance as quickly as possible.
Washington, meanwhile, has responded to yesterday's declaration by Internal Security Minister Yitzhak Aharonovich that he will begin implementing demolition orders against illegal Arab homes in eastern Jerusalem in the near future. Aharonovich made the statement during a special session during Jerusalem Day of the Knesset. A U.S. State Department official said in response, if either side takes significant actions during the proximity talks that we judge would seriously undermine trust, we will respond and hold them accountable. The official called on both sides to avoid inflammatory actions in Jerusalem. Well, strong reaction from Jerusalem over the call from the presidents of Russia and Turkey to include Hamas in the Middle East diplomatic process. The Foreign Ministry said Moscow appeared to be categorizing terrorists on the basis of geography, implying that Chechen terrorists were bad while Hamas terrorists were good. More in this report.
Speaking while on a state visit to Japan, Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman instructed his office in Jerusalem to issue a scathing statement that Israel absolutely rejects the possibility of recognizing the Hamas terror organization as a negotiating partner. Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and his Turkish counterpart Abdullah Gül made the unexpected call at a joint press conference in Istanbul yesterday. The Foreign Ministry said it is also deeply disappointed by Medvedev's decision to meet with Hamas political chief Khalid Mashal in Damascus earlier this week. Moscow's recognition of Hamas is particularly unsettling to Jerusalem, as Russia is a member of the International Quartet, which has branded the Islamic movement as a terror organization and thus a diplomatic pariah. Hamas has been shunned by much of the West for its refusal to renounce violence, recognize Israel, or accept existing interim Israeli-Palestinian peace agreements. Hamas is a terrorist organization in every sense of the word, and its declared purpose is the destruction of the State of Israel, read the Foreign Ministry statement, which then pointed out that members of Hamas have been responsible for the murder of hundreds of innocent civilians, including Russian citizens and other former residents of the CIS. saying that the state of Israel finds it totally unacceptable for enlightened nations to divide terrorists into good and bad according to geographical divisions. Jerusalem then reminded Russia that it has always stood behind Moscow in its own battle against Chechen terrorism, and that there is no difference between Khalid Mashal and the former Chechen militant Islamist Shamil Basayev, who was despised by the Kremlin. These latest developments come amid intensifying diplomatic and military friction in the region. Many Israelis fear that Russia is attempting to assume an increasingly pro-Islamic role as a Middle East peace broker. Medvedev also held meetings this week with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Apprehension has increased in Jerusalem over the potential sale by Moscow to Damascus of advanced anti-aircraft missiles and other weaponry, as well as Syria's alleged role in facilitating the shipment of Scud missiles from Iran to Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon. Lebanese Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri, meanwhile, has just been invited on an official visit to the United States on May 24th. Perhaps a sign that Washington may share many of Israel's concerns over Russia's apparent aspirations in the Middle East. This is Aaron Viner for IBA News.
Former Israeli Chief Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau does not rule out the possibility of community service for ultra-Orthodox young men as an alternative to army service. Speaking to Israel Radio, Rabbi Lau was referring to the current controversy over the growing numbers of ultra-Orthodox yeshiva students who do not enlist in the army and who do not join the workforce. Rabbi Lau warned against a wave of anti-Haredi sentiment, charging that, quote, Israelis are heroes when it comes to dying together, but haven't even completed basic training as far as living together is concerned. And in other news, the ultra-Orthodox mother from Jerusalem charged with starving her 3-year-old son is apparently not going to jail. The woman, known as the Starving Mom, today signed a deal with the prosecution, according to which she will plead guilty to most of the charges against her, but will not serve a prison sentence. The mother, who among other things, abused her son by not giving him food and cutting off his feeding tube, will remain under close supervision of authorities, under house arrest, along with her mother and her newborn baby for the next 3 years. She will be permitted to see her other children under specific terms outlined by the court. On Monday, the Jerusalem court will decide whether or not to accept that deal. We will never divide Jerusalem. That theme was repeated over and over by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during his Jerusalem Day speech last night at Ammunition Hill in the capital. Netanyahu told the enthusiastic audience that Jerusalem Day marks the day the city began positively developing for all its citizens, Jews and Arabs alike. The Prime Minister stressed that following the Six-Day War, Israel initiated freedom of worship for all religions and free access to holy sites of all faiths, something that did not exist under the Jordanian occupation of eastern Jerusalem. Netanyahu vowed to continue building in Jerusalem, saying we cannot develop in a divided city. Arab member of Knesset Ahmed Tibi responded to Netanyahu's speech by saying there is no greater lie than the unity of Jerusalem. Back now to our interview this morning with Danny Ayalon, and IBA's Efrat Patat asked the Deputy Foreign Minister whether the comments by Internal Security Minister Yitzhak Aharonovich that he will soon begin implementing demolition orders against illegal Arab homes in eastern Jerusalem were a prudent thing to say.
It's not a matter of timing. What he has expressed was merely a reflection of the judicial system. And so what he said was that this was the order of the court, this was the order of the Attorney General of the government. As for the execution and as for other means, I'm sure it's still debatable.
And you don't think it's sending a conflicting message to the Palestinians?
No, I don't think so. And I think we should really concentrate on things on the ground, and we should really concentrate on the real issues and not be sidetracked by anything like that. Israel could have easily been showing and emphasizing and stressing the ongoing Palestinian incitement, the work of delegitimization, everything that they do. I think it's important to concentrate on what we can build upon each other, and to say that peace is a win-win situation for all of us, and we shouldn't be sidetracked, as I mentioned before.
And how do you expect things to play out over the course of the next few months?
Well, I think it is important to move as quickly as possible to direct talks. This was our initial purpose. I think it is quite surprising, if not questionable, why the Palestinians insisted on this proximity, and we hope we move to direct talks as soon as possible without any preconditions, as we have been engaged in the past. And the fact that the Palestinians took advantage of the fact that there was a new administration in Washington, a new government in Israel, to try and change the rules of the game to the detriment of the process is very deplorable, and hopefully they will catch themselves in the right time to move forward.
Briefly, Deputy Foreign Minister Ayalon, I'd like to ask you about Russian President's visit to Syria and Turkey earlier this week. Russia is trying to reestablish its role as a power in the Middle East. Should Israel be concerned about Russia's desire to mediate between Hamas and the West?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we attach great importance to Russia. We recognize its superpower status and its interest here and its influence here, and we urge Russia to use its influence to good causes in the right direction, together with the rest of the international community. Russia is part of the quartet, which put these very three conditions on Hamas. If Hamas is to become a legitimate interlocutor, they must renounce terrorism, fight it, accept Israel's right to exist, and not promote its destructions, and of course abide by former agreements signed by the Palestinian Authority. This has been universally accepted, and I hope the Russians will also adhere to this as well.
And the fact that Medvedev went ahead and met with Khalid Mash'al in Syria, is this going to place a strain on Israeli-Russian relations?
Well, we are not going to debate with them publicly. We have very good channels, diplomatic channels and other channels which we will use and explore. And it's very important to know that we are on the same side, both Russia and Israel, as many other countries in the world suffer from this scourge of terror. And certainly we work on the same side, and Hamas is a terrorist organization, and unless and until it changes its nature, it's not going to be part of any process. Also, any meeting with Hamas, I believe, not only it's contrary to the agreements, not only it's contrary to the policies of the international community, it's also not strengthening the Palestinian Authority with which we're trying to move forward.
Deputy Foreign Minister, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And joining me now from our Tel Aviv studio is Kadima member of Knesset, Zev Bielski. MK Bielski, good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Let me first of all ask you for your reaction to Eli Yishai's comments that Israel would not capitulate to the United States and would continue to build in Jerusalem.
It's a disaster that a partner of the coalition, such a high official as Eli Yishai, is telling his own people, and he thinks it won't come out, that once we start talking, he is saying that never mind what the Americans are saying, we are going ahead. It doesn't add to anything, and if I would be Obama or his administration, I would say, here Yishai is coming again. First we had the deputy president coming here, and Yishai prepared for him building in Jerusalem. Now again, it doesn't contribute. This is not the way that the government should lead this country.
And what about comments yesterday from Internal Security Minister Yitzhak Aharonovich? Do you think they were appropriate? He says, soon we may start demolishing illegal buildings in Silwan.
Well, again, it's the same pattern that leads this government. Everything is not at the right time. Sometimes some of the things too late, some of the things too little. Like the Prime Minister started when it took him a few months to say two-state solution. Now the Minister of Police talks about demolish Arab houses in East Jerusalem. When we start proximity talks, It's unbelievable here. You know, I was looking at my friend Danny Ayalon, remembering what he did to the Turkish ambassador. This morning I got up in the morning and I heard that his boss, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is starting a raid against Saudi Arabia to explain to the world what the Saudi Arabia is all about. I don't think we are going to have friends in this if we carry on like this. It is too terrible.
Let me ask you where you personally and where your party, Kadima, also stands regarding the proximity talks. Do you support them? And if so, are you speaking out in support of the Prime Minister's efforts?
Well, of course we support them, but we feel so sorry about our government because a year ago we, the Kadima party, were discussing with Abu Allah and Abu Mazen. They used to come to Jerusalem. We used to sit with them. We used to talk to them. It wasn't proximity. It was a direct, and it was supposed to lead to an agreement. Now, a year ago, we back ages ago, when the Israeli Prime Minister, which is my Prime Minister also, is begging Abu Mazen to start talking to him. He's waiting for the decision of the Fatah to a proximity talk, not even direct talk, and now we hope that the proximity talk will lead to direct, and in the meantime we tell them that we are going to demolish houses, we're going to make a raid against Saudi Arabia. We are getting nowhere.
All right. Thanks to member of Knesset from Kadima, Zev Bielski. Thank you, M.K. Bielski.
Thank you.
Well, in other news, Spanish Foreign Minister Miguel Moratinos traveled to Damascus today following talks with Israel and Palestinian Authority members yesterday. Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Chief Ehud Barak asked the Spanish diplomat to convey to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad that Israel has no intention of attacking Syria. Tension between Damascus and Jerusalem heightened following rumors that Israel planned to launch a military strike against Syria. Netanyahu told Moratinos that he believed Iran and Hezbollah were responsible for spreading that rumor. On another subject, Moratinos, whose country currently chairs the European Union presidency and will host next month's Mediterranean summit in Barcelona, said he hopes Arab leaders will not follow through on their threats to boycott the gathering if Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman attends. Both Lieberman and Prime Minister Netanyahu plan to attend that June 8th summit. A Euro-Mediterranean Partnership Conference was canceled last October following similar Arab boycott threats. It's a discovery that has the scientific community holding its breath, not just here in Israel, but throughout the world. Professor Ruth Arnon has been working in the same laboratory at the Weizmann Institute for 20 years. She's already been awarded the Israel Prize for one revolutionary breakthrough. She developed Copaxone, which offers relief for sufferers of multiple sclerosis. Her new patent, still in development, is a single vaccine that offers protection against all varieties of the flu virus. Just last week, Arnon's group completed 2 clinical trials whose results exceeded all their expectations. Their vaccine, developed synthetically in the lab, was tested on 2 groups, one aged 18 to 49, the other 55 to 75 years of age. In every case, the vaccine proved effective against every form of flu virus, with no side effects. In 2 months' time, another crucial clinical trial will begin in Tel Aviv Medical Center and at Hadassah in Jerusalem. You've heard of Dancing with the Stars? Well, these are the real stars, Golden Agers, who have just held their 4th Born to Dance contest in Tel Aviv. This year's winner, Penina Levine, grandmother of supermodel Bar Raffaele. But the participants say they all feel like winners. As one of them put it, I was born to dance, but only discovered it when I turned 70. There's still hope for me. In business news, a decision made last year becomes a reality at the end of this month. Index compiler MSCI announced last June that it would include Israel in its World Index, putting the country together with the world's richest economies. The move to reclassify Israel from an emerging market to a developed market takes effect on May 27th. It's estimated that Israel will garner 0.4% of the World Index and be ranked 18th among the 24 developed market countries. Esther Lebanon, head of the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, believes large institutions will now view Israeli equities as a lucrative investment.
If we look at other countries the size of Israel, like Greece or Portugal or Ireland or Denmark or Belgium, if you look at this list, Israel is in a far better position with a very stable economy, that we managed to go out of the crisis only after 2 quarters. So even with comparison to our peers, we have a lot to offer to foreign investors. We also hope that we'll see money flowing into Israel for big institutional, big pension funds that, as I said, we were not allowed to invest in Israel before because it was an emerging market, and now they can be sure it's a stable market that being acknowledged by MSCI and also by FTSE 2 years ago as a developed market, so that's the right place to be.
In trading today, blue chip and high-tech shares drifted lower on the Tel Aviv exchange, and the shekel was mixed against major foreign currencies. Let's take a look at the late afternoon numbers. And as we head toward the weekend, IBA Weather Guy says it's going to get warmer as hot and dry air pushes into our region. Here are the very warm highs and lows. That's all for today. I'm Yochanan Elrom. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening, and shalom from Jerusalem.